Hello again. So, let's see. This is Campaign 5, Recollection number 13. Again, we are playing Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, owned by the company Wizards of the Coast, and we are playing Explorer's Guide to Wildemount as our campaign setting, owned by the company Critical Role. All right, so now this is my attempt to be a little bit more free flow instead of just reading off. So, essentially where we were down in the sewers of Diastock. So what happens is they encounter what appears to be the Kreen that are hiding amongst Diastock, and they are using the sewers to move about undetected by the Crown's Guard. So what they do, since they're kind of in this stalemate, in this sunken tunnel that's flooded, they decide to make an uneasy truce. So they move to a sort of cave that that a dilapidated wall allows for a sort of like small cavern. This is where the Kreen have been hiding out. And so essentially the party explains that the situation that's going on with the Myriad hideout. Basically, they explain to him, listen, these criminals, they want you guys gone because they don't want the Crown's Guard coming down here. And the Kreen are obviously saying, well, we're actually here searching for something, and something that was stolen and very important. So from there, the party, utilizing primarily Wick's charisma stat, through logic and persuasion, Wick convinces them to vacate Diastock, to basically leave. It's like saying, listen, you're drawing too much attention, they're going to come down here eventually. And so they agree to leave under the cover of darkness the next day. Now, after this, the party kind of gets a feel for the Kreen. This conversation, this role play, is actually pretty extensive. So at this point, they kind of come to the conclusion that the Kreen are kind of all right. They're kind of cool. Maybe it was my portrayal of them. But either way, the party, they end up returning to the Myriad hideout, and they inform the Dead Keeper, letting him know, hey, the Kreen spies are gone. So you guys don't have to worry about the Crown's Guard coming down here anymore. And so from there, they're finally able to access the black market. So they start exchanging some goods. They start doing a lot of bartering and stuff like that to sort of make sure, they're fully to stock. And they also get some good materials. Other than that, though, they also learn more about Elio, since Elio was initially the one that got them in there through his sort of swashbuckling backstory. They learn that Elio used to have a pretty extensive criminal past in an organization known as the Revelry. Now, the Revelry is a pirate fleet that is off the Menagerie coast in the Lucidian Ocean. And they're pretty interesting. If you never watched the show, the Revelry, they're pretty cool. But Elio was a part of them. He was kind of like I think he was like a first mate. It's hard to say because I don't have Elio's character sheet anymore, so I can't really say what he did. But he was on a trail of revenge against a Revelry pirate captain. That was, he was kind of a big jerk to Elio. So anyways, with that, from there, the party, with no other leads coming from their investigation in the sewers, they decide to basically go ahead and prepare to find the ruins the succubus Camille had mentioned whenever Vorkeef was interrogating her. So the party continues to resupply and upgrade their equipment, and Vexen acquires a short sword of warning from the smith Ribbreaker Uglak of Bahamut's Forge. Now, a short sword of warning, it's not really like a +1 or anything like that, but it is enchanted. It is a magical weapon, and that's important because it allows him to damage creatures that cannot be damaged by anything other than silvered weapons or adamantine coated weapons or weapons that have magical properties. So it doesn't really do much in the way of hitting anything or dealing damage, but it does allow him to fully damage a creature whenever he hits it. They no longer have resistance to his attacks. So that's important for later on. And then from there, Vorkif basically has Uglok go ahead and forge him a censer, kind of like what a priest would carry on like a chain with like a little cage, and it's got, like incense coming out of it. And then essentially from there, he goes and he has the censer enchanted to become a devotee's censer. I forget what temple he goes to. Either way, he has it done. So a devotee censer is a very powerful tool and item in general, just for clerics. It allows them basically to just keep spraying healing incense to heal the party during combat. It's pretty overpowered. I didn't know what it was while he was making it. So whenever he finally did make it, I was like, son of a... Anyways, it made for some interesting combat scenarios. Anyways, so finally the party is ready to head off to the ruins in the Siren Green Forest. Captain Tabo reminds the party, of course, that there's a monster in the forest that has a bounty on it, so they could collect a reward. So the party heads out of Diastok going east to the Siren Green Forest. If you had a map of the Marrow Valley or the Zimni Fields of Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, you know what I'm talking about. But with that, the party decides to enter the forest stealthily on foot. They're not going to utilize the horses that they have. And they discover signs of the monster, mostly due to Team Ranger, Vexen, and Nox's kid. Now, from there, they start tracking the monster and realize it is huge. From some of the footprints, some of the marks it left behind, some of the small trees it knocked over, it's a big monster. So, the party, thinking on its feet, decides to use the small barrel of explosive powder that they found at the Linhart residence. And Vexen, due to his backstory, he would live, or for a long period of time, he was living amongst goblins in a caravan in Jorhas. So he has he's familiar with goblin ingenuity. So essentially what he does is he takes this small little keg of gunpowder and he fashions it into a fused bomb. So with that, he says he fashions it with goblin style, or he made a bomb utilizing goblin style. And the party didn't know what that meant until later on, whenever they finally exercise or execute their plan, more like. So the party eventually comes across a dead bear that looked beaten to death rather than mauled and chewed on. So finally, at this moment, whenever they discover the bear, it looks really fresh. They're like, huh. And it's almost like it's nearby. The party was having a lot of fun with predator references. They were tracking it and they were saying stuff. It's like, if it bleeds, we can kill it. Or they would say stuff like, it's got to be using the trees to avoid us. It's up in the air. Anyways, they had a good time with it. Maybe mostly Vexen. He knew what I was talking about with Predator. But with that, finally, the monster does jump down from the forest canopy above, and it ambushes the party. Now, it is a dire troll, so it's a multi-armed troll. It's like a troll with I think it's 4 or 6 arms. It's got a lot of arms. Anyways, he's a real pain in the butt. So the party engages the dire troll. Now, Vexen, Wick, and Nox's kid, and Xander, they're just keeping to range combat. They all have their range attacks, so they're sticking to that. While Elio is closing distance and evading due to his swashbuckler subclass. If you've never played a swashbuckler, they're awesome. But with that, And Vorkeef is the typical tank as the cleric. Vorkeef gets his butt kicked a lot. He takes a lot of hits. But eventually, the party decides to use the goblin-style bomb Vexen fashioned. Now, due to some rolls that I had him make in order to fashion this bomb, he made the fuse unwittingly too short. So with that, upon exploding, the bomb knocks Vorkeef unconscious. And then the fight continues. So basically, he takes the bomb and he chunks it at him, lighting the fuse. And instead of the bomb blowing up closer to the Diatrol, it kind of blows up right in front of Vorkeef and sends Vorkeef flying. So he's like, ugh. And I think Vorkeef said something like, all he could do was just give this look of bewilderment and shame, or shock and disappointment, as he flies through the air, slowly becoming unconscious, looking at Vexen. And Vexen's just like, I'm sorry. But either way, Vorkeef is knocked out, and with that, the fight continues. But eventually, the party discovers from the bomb that fire is the weakness of the dire troll. And they start using oil and lit arrows to stop it from regenerating. Trolls are kind of a pain in the butt. They keep regenerating if you don't damage them with fire. Now, I'm sure some of the players knew that you have to hit it with fire, but they were being good, and good players don't metagame. They don't use previous knowledge that everyone knows. So with that, they defeat the dire troll, and they take a short rest after that. And eventually Vorkeef recovers and comes back to consciousness, and he's just very stern and disappointed in Vexen, but they make it out all right. But with that is the end of this recollection, and hopefully it wasn't too unbearable. But other than that, until next time, take care.